Can you hear me in there okay? Can I do a sound check? I couldn't really hear you guys.
Okay, Caitlin, I'm going to turn you up here a little bit so everybody can hear you.
All right. Thanks. Are we ready? Ready to begin? It's hard for me to.
I believe so. Go right ahead.
Okay, thanks. All right. I'd like to call the December 3rd, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would staff please call the roll?
Commissioner Vodla.
Here.
Commissioner Strasbaugh.
Here.
Commissioner Ruffage. Here. And Commissioner Murray.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda? Are there any objections to approving the agenda? All right, seeing here none, the agenda is approved. Moving on to approval of our minutes from December 3rd. May I have a motion to approve minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from September 3rd.
Thank you. December 3rd. Thank you. A second?
Second.
Are there any changes to the minutes? And any objections to approving? All right, hearing none, the minutes from our regular planning and zoning meeting. That you're right. You're right. September 3rd. Forgive me, Commissioner Murray. Presentations. Don't have any presentations tonight, but we do have a public hearing recommending resolution PZ 2025-018, recommending amendment of the Soldotna Municipal Code section 17.10.385 to establish a uniform administrative permit requirement for all short-term rental units, and amending sections 17.10.130, 17.10.260, 17.10.315, and 17.10.400 for consistency. May I please have a motion to approve?
Commissioner Murray, I'd move to approve resolution number PZ 2025-018.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. This resolution was brought forward by Councilmember Chilson. May we please have you come forward to speak on this item?
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Vodla. I'd be happy to speak to this proposed ordinance before you this evening. Just want to share some background on this. So this originated in some discussions I've been having with staff over the last couple of years or so relating to housing within the city. I think it's a point of interest that we should all be aware of and interested in as leaders within our city. One of the things that we've struggled with in evaluating where we stand within the city on this is potential effects of short-term rentals. And the reality is that's something that we don't have a lot of great data on, although we do have them operating within the city. one of the best pieces of data that we had on that to assess how they currently stand within the city is the permits that we collect as part of our requirement for operating short-term rentals. However, the permits that we currently require for the operation of those rental units are only currently present within certain zoning districts, while other zoning districts don't require those. So what I'm proposing through this ordinance to you tonight for your consideration would be to basically ensure consistency by having a uniform requirement for permitting for the operation of short-term rentals within the city, regardless of zoning district. And as far as what this is going to do, there's a couple things that tie into this, and I guess I'll start at the beginning because I'm just chatting in the background. I know there was concern about potential tax implications regarding our previously established tax requirement for short-term rentals within the city. I just want to be clear, there's no financial impacts to this. So we're not doing anything to change tax code relating to short-term rentals within the city. However, I think there might be some inadvertent benefits to how that's facilitated within the city as a result of this. So one thing that we might see going forward is operators might not be fully familiar with the intricacies of how our tax code is structured for short-term rentals. So by requiring a permit for all STRs within the city, there's opportunities for improved information sharing in both directions. So for one, as people come forward and want to operate a short-term rental within the city, when they come to the city to establish their permit, well, one, we want to make that permit process as easy as we can for those within the city. But two, we want to make it an opportunity to really relay all information they need to know, not only relating to the tax code, but just everything about the city and how they can operate that effectively within our boundaries. And then also we can get effective contact information for people. So we also know where these STRs are and how to contact the owners if issues come up. I already spoke to simplification. Again, there's no confusion as far as which zoning districts would require a permit to operate an STR. And then lastly, it just gives us better data on how these are being utilized within the city so that we as, planning and zoning commissioners, city councilmen, we can make more effective policy decisions in the future if needed. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on this.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners for Councilmember Chilson?
Okay, well, I don't have any questions. I'd just like to say thank you for your consideration. I'm always available via email, phone, if any questions come up after the fact.
Thank you. All right. At this point, the public comment period is now open. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this item? So please state your name and address for the record. And do we have anyone else on Zoom?
No, we don't.
Okay. I'm not seeing much movement. All right. Don't see anyone wishing to speak. So the public comment period is now closed. Are there any commission comments or questions for staff?
Yeah.
Oh, forgive me. Sorry. Thank you. All right.
More to find out what the permit was, and I had that explained a little bit more. But anyway, I just more to educate me on what is going on, because my son has a duplex in town, and I have the chalets, and so I'm just more interested in what is coming about by this meeting. And if it just requires a permit by people that have vacation rentals or rentals, well, that's one thing. But it's been what the city is taxing at 4% seem to have a kind of a hard time getting off the ground with their stuff. So, but I can talk to somebody else about that. But their forms were different, crude, almost vindictive. You'll be in jail if you don't. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. But anyone involved in the forms that we fill out is probably something I need to go to and talk to them about. Because they want information that I'm not willing to give about who are the long-term renters and who are tax exempt because they're Forest Service or church because it's nonprofit. I'm not giving that information out. I don't think that's any of the city's business. So, okay.
Right. And forgive me for not seeing you. I have a sick kiddo at home, and it's much easier when I am able to chair in person. So forgive me. Would you be willing to state your name and address for our record?
Me?
Yes.
Don Shields, 42737 Sterling Highway,
Thank you.
Stillwater Chalets.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? All right. With no one else wishing to speak, the comment period is now closed, and it's time for discussion and commissioner comments or questions for staff. Thank you, Jeanette. I think it would be helpful, just a quickie question for staff to clarify which zoning districts do require permits currently and which don't for short-term rentals.
Thank you, Chair Bodlef, for that question. And I just want to make sure that we can hear me. Yes.
Oh, and forgive me, Director Mitchell, there is one additional person on Zoom who couldn't raise their hand. If it's okay, would we be willing to pause and reopen the public comment period?
Not a problem.
Thank you. There should be somebody in Zoom. It's actually a person who is interested.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Help at all.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, perfect. I apologize. I think there might be some of the Zoom settings are a little bit wonky. My name is Mary May, and I'm a resident of Soldotna. Did I need to give my address?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm at 47160 Tagala Avenue in Soldotna, and I just wanted to comment in support of Jordan Chilson's recommendation for a more regulated and efficacious manner of collecting this data regarding short-term rentals. They're definitely in short supply, and getting a better understanding of how those that are available in our community are being used will help us solve the problem that many young families are facing when making the determination to either stay here or move here.
Thank you. Thanks for joining the meeting and for making a comment. All right, I think we can close the public comment period on this item and move to commissioner comments and questions for staff. And thank you for Director Mitchell.
Yes. So your question was what zones are currently required to have a short-term rental permit or not. Currently, the way we have it tiered is we differentiate between owner-occupied and non-owner occupied. So I'll go first with when it comes to owner-occupied short-term rentals, no one needs a short-term rental permit, meaning if there's an owner within that residence, it doesn't matter what zone you're in, you do not need a short-term rental permit. Now, if you're a non-owner occupied, as an owner, you're not within the building. Within the commercial and limited commercial districts, you're exempt from the short-term rental permit. Any other districts is required to have a short-term rental permit. The problem with this is if you look at our code, the section where their standards only apply to non-owner occupied. It becomes an issue when someone with the owner occupied short-term rental has a complaint. They're not subjected to the same standard the way the code is written. Because the standards in terms of, hey, what's the local point of contact, minimum or maximum guest rooms, whether you can have a sign, and ensuring whether they have appropriate or sufficient off-street parking, those standards are not being reviewed for compliance. So when it comes to owner occupied, in essence, they're not held to the same standards as a non-owner occupied. Hopefully that answers your question, and happy to answer any more questions your commissioners may have.
Chairman Vatla, Commissioner Murray, I guess in looking over the proposed changes, it is very confusing because, you know, like on page 4, it starts out saying, you know, B, C. It starts and puts B in a parenthesis, but then at the end of that, you know, it goes back to regular type font, but it doesn't have another bracket to say what was deleted.
There was, forgive me, Commissioner Murray, continue.
Yeah, so that makes it very difficult to understand what's in and what's out. Under home occupation, it says you could have one, you know, one vehicle in, you know, on the premises. But if I understood it correctly, if you have lodging, you can have more. Am I reading that incorrectly?
I just wanted to comment that the first time I read through the packet, I didn't scroll all the way down for the clean version of the proposed, this proposed change, and it's a lot easier to read. It's all the way at the bottom, and it has just what's proposed. I will admit that our rules for the bracketed text being what's deleted and the underlined text being what's being added all mushed together is pretty hard to pick apart. But there is a clean version at the very bottom.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that, so I must have the wrong version in front of me.
Yeah. Could we pull that up on the big screen? The clean version, because it's actually quite concise and might clear up some confusion.
I can share, but I don't see a share button. There it is. So bear with me here. I will. You see my screen? So in your packet, and hopefully you can still hear me, is right after Council Members Chilson's memo is the clean version. As you can see here, this is what it would look like. It is substantially shorter because it removes the difference between owner occupied and non-owner occupied section. And I want to make sure that I answer Commissioner Murray's question. I know unfortunately for the way we bring forth code amendments, we need those brackets and in that order to make it easier when code is actually updated in the Muni code. So does this help, Commissioner Murray? It's right after the memo.
Yes. Is it currently the code says you can have 5 guest rooms, a total of 10 guests?
Correct. That is not being changed at all. This is now just going to apply to both owner occupied short-term rentals as well. They'll be held to the same standard.
And does it exclude any zoning districts for this to occur?
No, it does not.
So it could be in a single family residential area?
Correct. It is ultimately, it's wherever the zoning allows for residential as a permitted use, or if a residential has been established prior to zoning. So in that case, they would be allowed to have a short-term rental. This doesn't change anything from what the code currently allows. It's just the process in terms of application, in terms to track whether there's a short-term rental occurring and holding owner occupied short-term rentals to the same standards as non-owner occupied that we've been doing.
Okay, that seems awfully high for a residential area because you could have 5 or 6 cars in the next driveway. Am I saying that correctly?
I think it's 5. Sorry. Go ahead, Director Mitchell.
It's 5 guest rooms, and when it comes to residential, the parking standard is 2 vehicles per dwelling. That is the standard. So in this case, if there's a duplex, then what we're looking for when we see a short-term rental application, we're looking for at least 4 parking spaces.
Okay, but if you have 5 guest rooms and 10 guests, you could have 5 or 6 vehicles. You just have to have space to provide for them.
Correct. We do, in our process, require a site plan to show adequate parking and the number of rooms, and we do review that. I see what your concern is, and that's why there's standard number 4 there, having sufficient off-street parking within an established driveway or parking structure to accommodate the use, even though, yes, there is a standard in terms of no more than 5 guest rooms, but a residential could have 5 guest rooms. But in terms of the short-term rental, we do look at the site plan review when we're reviewing these short-term rental permits.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair Vodla, if I may, I'd like to reply back to that as well.
Yeah, I think that will be helpful. If you wouldn't mind just coming up to the. Thanks.
Thank you. This is Councilman Shilson again. Just expanding on Director Mitchell's comments on that. I think if I'm understanding Commissioner Murray's concerns on this, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're concerned about the permitting process basically allowing broader use of short-term rentals in residential districts that hadn't been permitted before. The intent of this is not to change and introduce new operation of short-term rentals in those districts that hadn't been there before. It's just requiring the permitting process be consistent across districts. So to your concern about the 5 vehicles there, if our code already didn't allow that, it's still not going to allow that to my knowledge, just because they're now required to have a permit as well. Is that correct, Director Mitchell?
If they're not required to have a permit, a short-term rental permit, correct? Am I understanding you, Councilmember Chilson?
I mean, just is there any situation in which by now requiring the permitting process in the residential districts, they would have the opportunity to have larger rental operations than the way they previously could do?
No.
That's exactly the point I'm trying to clarify.
Yeah.
Here. Or just
correct.
Permitting, there's no new avenue to enlarge rental operations in rental districts.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, my understanding of this was like, yeah, to make it a little shorter and sweeter, but also to staff, would you be willing to clarify how the owner occupied is being brought up to the same standard as non-owner occupied? Like what the changes are if you are an owner occupied short-term rental, what changes are you going to see with this if this code change goes through?
Thank you, Chair Butler, for that question. So ultimately, they would just apply for the permit itself and then held again to the general standards listed right before you, because these standards were not required of of owner occupied. And so now, for example, C1, we need a local point of contact made available 24 hours a day. If we get a complaint, we know who to go to. Now we're going to be reviewing their guest rooms. If you have a very large house, we're going to say, hey, your maximum guest is 10. And typically we'll see their ads, and if it's more than that, we can hold them to that and say, hey, a short-term rental in the city is 10, and going forth of sufficient off-street parking. If there's not available sufficient parking off-site, then we are going to deny their short-term rental. You know, mostly if they're going to have 6 guest rooms or 5 guest rooms and they can't accommodate these parking spaces. And I've had complaints of people parking on the street when they couldn't, but how unfortunately it was in a zone that wasn't held to the standard in a commercial or limited commercial district. So that makes it challenging for staff for enforcement. And then lastly, you know, the requirement of an ADU, if it's a short-term rental, an owner must reside in one or the other unit. And so that's the biggest change in this, is just applying for a short-term rental permit in terms of how they operate, or now we have the data to keep track of it as well.
Thank you. Any more commissioner comments or questions? Now's a good time for discussion.
Call for the question.
All right, can we call for the vote?
Yes.
Alrighty, Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Rufford,
Yes.
Commissioner Strasbaugh,
Yes.
and Chair Vadla.
Yes.
We have 4 yes votes and 0 no votes. The motion passes.
All right, thank you. And I appreciate helpful cues from commissioners and staff. Not being in the room is hard. Look forward to seeing you all next month. Moving on to Resolution PZ 2025-019, recommending approval of the Golf Acres Subdivision Bogie Court vacation. May I have a motion to approve?
Commissioner Murray, I move to approve.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks. And may we please have the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Vadla. I'm going to pull up my presentation real quick here. I want to make sure everyone can see that. I see it on the screen. Perfect. So this resolution is primarily a preliminary plat that was submitted to vacate a portion of a cul-de-sac, which is part of the Bogie Court right-of-way, and it's adjacent to the property located at 1045 Bogie Court. So here is an aerial view of the proposed vacation that's as part of the proposal here in red is the portion that's being requested to be vacated. This is within the rural residential zoning. Everything around it is rural residential. You have the golf course to the north. You have single family residents to the west and east, and to the south you have a vacant parcel. And usually with these vacations, when they're vacated, it is absorbed by the adjacent property. In this case, this proposed vacation of this right-of-way would then go to 1045 Bogie Court. And as indicated before, this whole area is zone rural residential, and then the area that you don't see a color is within the borough. And when it comes to any preliminary plats, it typically, and my apologies, my clicker is going wrong. We look at the zoning. In this case, this vacation doesn't change anything with the existing use. The existing use is a single family residence. This is only adding more land to this property. No changes to that. And then second part of the subdivision request, we look at access and street designation. Access remains the same. Bogie Court would be access to this parcel in particular, and street designation is already designated as Bogie Court. No changes is being proposed. And then a utility. When it comes to plats, we want to make sure that there are utility easements in place. So with this vacation, the utility line is going around the curvature of the cul-de-sac. And of course, if this is being vacated, it has to be realigned with the new property line. That would be the only changes to be corresponding accordingly to the right-of-way vacation. And ultimately, that is all that we're seeing is that portion of the edge of the cul-de-sac there being vacated and then the easement being rededicated accordingly. Lastly, with noticing of these, notices were mailed November 24th, 2025. Staff did receive one public comment in supportive of this preliminary plat, really a right-of-way vacation. And part of any plat, we route it to department and agencies. In this case, staff routed it to the Public Works Director, Streets and Maintenance Manager, and CS Fire Marshal, and all are supportive of the proposal. A little background about what occurred in terms of this vacation. Well, why aren't we vacating the whole entire thing? Well, it gets more complex because it would need to be absorbed by the golf course. So the applicant asked the city staff to reconsider, in which case we contacted the borough planning manager to ensure that there's no conflict with their code and no concern in their part. And it was suggested that staff here reached out to the CAS fire marshal, in which we did. And as long as the fire marshal was okay with this partial vacation, that then we can move forward with a positive recommendation to the borough for consideration, in which case the fire marshal has no concern, because if you look at the street further west, there is an existing turnaround for EMS and emergency turnaround. So therefore, that concludes staff's review of this preliminary plat for a right-of-way vacation and recommending that your commission adopt this resolution and forwarding and recommending approval to the borough on this plat. That concludes staff's presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions your commissioners may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'd first like to open the public comment period. For any public comments on this item, is there anybody who wishes to speak?
I'm asking to be vacated. I have a 24-inch diameter birch tree right in the middle of that, another spruce tree. It's never been vacated, never been used. The only part of it's ever been used is the part that's over close to the golf course. And I really need that to be vacated so I can build a shop. Simple. So, like I said, if you have any questions, this has never been used.
Yeah, through the chair. Looks like that there's that same carve out on the other side of the street too.
Well, the thing is, actually, if you were to do the measurement on the cul-de-sac from how far it comes back into my driveway, and 100 feet, normal cul-de-sacs are 100 feet, right? It's actually ends up being kind of in the middle of the road, but part of it might be over a little bit on the golf course, but I don't really want that to be vacated because the neighbors use it. They don't, a couple of the neighbors down, they don't have a driveway basically at all. So sometimes they park down there when their kids have birthday parties and other stuff, you know, and I really don't want to have to pay McLean Surveying to do a complete golf course survey on the whole thing in order to do that, to get rid of that other half.
Well, and the original basis of it was?
I have no idea. I moved in there in '94 and I didn't even realize it was there until I went and had it resurveyed to set up where I wanted my shop.
So it doesn't show on there, it might show on another one, the director can show that to us, but basically there's a turnaround, I assume. The only assumption could be that it was the distance and for fire protection.
Well, so the road didn't go all the way down to the end at first. And then, so now the road goes all the way down to the end. And so you see the other cul-de-sac. Yeah.
So that gives a turnaround rate.
Yeah. And there's still plenty of room for a turnaround for anything.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for your comment. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak on this item? In the room or in Zoom? I don't. Not seeing it or hearing any. All right, with that, the public comment period is now closed, and I'd like to open it up to commissioner comments or questions for staff.
I have a quick question. The old plat shows that, sorry, this is Commissioner Strasbaugh. The old plat shows that there's a 20-foot setback, building setback. Is that going to be in place back here on Bogie Court?
Thank you, Commissioner Strasbaugh, for that question. So, you know, I think you can see the original plat on the screen, hopefully. If you look at the plat, I think it's in 79. Back then, a code requirement was that setbacks were to be designated on preliminary plats. However, current code under the borough says that if it's a plat is under a city jurisdiction, that setbacks be removed and have the standardized language of saying subject to City of Soldotna's zoning ordinance, because that's where our setbacks come from. We don't want to tie them to 20 if our zoning decides to change that we want 15-foot setback. So that is why it's going to be removed. But yes, in the rural residential, it is 20-foot setback right now. And that's what there's be subject to when it comes to setback, is what the current zoning is when we're in the city limits.
Thank you.
And if I may continue to go along to answer Commissioner Murray's question, this was the original plat. And when they extended Bogie Court, and I learned this from the borough platting manager, is they kept this cul-de-sac in place is because within the borough standard, there's a block length, a maximum block length. And so in order to meet that criteria, they went ahead and kept the cul-de-sac, because usually it is best practice to go ahead and vacate the cul-de-sac if you're creating one at the end, because it's typically a cul-de-sac is a terminal end. And so what I'm being informed by the platting manager is with this, if we move forward to recommend approval to the borough, that the applicant will need to request for a block length exception, because now this cul-de-sac is incomplete, and therefore they're going to exceed the maximum block length of the borough standard. We don't have that standard, but the borough does. And that's why this is unusual, where you have a cul-de-sac midway.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Are there any other questions or comments from commissioners?
Chair, so you got that, Tim, right? That you have to go to the borough once we make a decision in favor, then you still have to come to the borough. And Linda, is it an exception to their code? Linda?
Correct, Commissioner Murray.
Do that though? You knew? Okay.
Yes, and that is actually a very common exception request, and the applicant's representative and the claim consulting is aware of this, and hopefully has passed it along to the owners.
Call for the question.
Thank you. Yep. Can we call for the vote?
Commissioner Strasbaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner Redford,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Chair Vadla.
Yes.
You have 4 yes votes, 0 no votes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to, we don't have any unfinished business or new business or public comments. I suppose, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to make any public comments without prior notice about anything? Don't hold back. I'm not seeing anyone though. All right. Informational items. I'd like to notify folks that Commissioner Tom Anderson has submitted his resignation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. The effective date of Commissioner Anderson's resignation was Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. And we would really like to thank him for his service to the commission and wish him well on his future endeavors. And remind folks that there are 2 vacancies that we'd like to fill on this commission so that we have a full body. Moving on to reports. Councilmember Carey, and thank you for coming.
Did you call on me?
Yes, please. If you have anything to report, we would love to hear from you.
Two things. First of all, I'd like to start off by thanking you for being willing to serve and to help the city of Soldotna. What I watched tonight is exactly what good government is supposed to be. People who are most effective can come in and ask questions, can be sure they understand. I saw both staff absolutely willing and able to explain things, but I also saw the opportunity for you representing the people in another fashion to hear their concerns. As I have seen on the council for many years, it really makes a difference. People can come in and they can have a perspective that the rest of us just didn't know. And by sharing that perspective, it changes what we do. And so that you being here allows that process to take place. And I greatly, greatly appreciate. I can appreciate that sometimes sitting in this room is not the most exciting and thrilling part of your day. Now it is for you, Dennis, but again, for others, again, no. And so again, I want to say how much I appreciate. Second, this is a very interesting time to be involved in government. I was first elected here in Soldotna in '82 to serve on the assembly, and again, 3 terms. There's been such a change in the perception of the community toward those who serve in public office. And I could say the same as having been a teacher for a little over 3 decades, the difference between the focus toward those who are providing services in education as compared to today. And it can make things more difficult when there isn't always the perception that the people are supporting you. And in fact, and maybe in some cases, they start off sort of not sure if they want to even trust you. And so again, thanking you for being willing to serve. We were very pleased in terms of the city, different aspects of legislation and funding. I believe $1 million for the field house. We kind of held our breath till that came through. And again, many, many people helped to get that. And we have certainly other smaller projects. And so our legislative priorities, to some extent, and I'm now speaking more for myself, but I think it reflects others. We're hunkering down to do the very best we do to always be sure that we are prudent and we are appropriate where we spend money. This city is phenomenal in terms of the financial resources we've had because of very good administration. We've had a very strong bank account sitting behind us as a reserve. And so that during these very difficult times, it allows us the necessary flexibility. There are many, again, having been involved with Municipal League and other things over the decades, there are many cities and other government units in this state who apply for things. They're normally supposed to have things shelf ready. They're supposed to have done all the work, all kinds of things ready, so that when funds are available, they can instantly start doing things. The truth is many things are awarded and they don't have the money to do it. And they have to give it back. And those of us maybe sitting on the 2nd or 3rd or 4th level of determinations, it's helpful for us. This city has funds for those things we put in for. And so that it is very nice to be part of the city of Soldotna because of that background, because of the good management that we have. And I'm going to say because of all the different people who work for us. And so that this is an interesting time. Since you last met, of course, the votes came in terms of annexation. Annexation went on for many years. And again, the decision that the people of the area decided in terms of whether or not to expand the city. Geographically, we are a very small area. And we have that great, awesome reality of all the medical facilities. And we think of the hospital certainly, but again, the largest by unit, the largest number of dwellings, commercial dwellings within the city are healthcare. And they just huge amount of jobs, a huge amount of resources. Again, listening to some of the people that were in the audience before this meeting, having resources here in this area is so nice. As someone involved with oncology, it is so nice to go for treatment here than having to go to Anchorage or outside. Growing up here in the 60s, everyone always had to go outside. It was just, that was the norm. You hope that maybe Anchorage could handle it, but very often you had to go to the lower 48. It is so nice. The quality of life here is so much better because of certainly healthcare. Obviously, we have the river That's a huge resource that we need to protect and keep here forever. The teamwork that you represent is critical to the quality of life for the people who live here. And as we certainly know, we have many people who live outside of the boundary of the city, who depend upon this city for commerce, for socialization, for education, for church. And again, that's part of what you are a part of. And I hope each of you appreciate that you're critically important to the niceness which is this city and this community. And I greatly appreciate. I was sorry to see that you have 2 vacancies, and I understand, the reality. And I hope quickly you can find other quality people, other caring people, other compassionate people who want to serve here on this body and will to do the work you do. And finally, I'll just say, as a member of the council, I always feel very good when I get something from the PNZ because I know they've done their homework. I've known your chairperson for a while, and again, it's kind of nice to have taught here for a long time. And the head of the library, again, way back when I was her teacher as well. And so it's just kind of nice seeing the different people that you know through different things and their families. And it's just, it is appreciated. And I hope clearly that you understand, especially maybe when there aren't a whole lot of people that show up. But it doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't important. It's simply that you are so competent and conscientious that the people know you're doing your job. And I thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, Councilmember Carey. I think I was as a student ex officio member of the city council when you were mayor, and that and many other things that you've done definitely helped inspire me to do civic service. So thanks for your many years of giving back in many ways. Moving on to City Manager Bauer. She actually can't see in the corner. Is she still there? And if so, would you mind? Yes, thanks. I see you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bodlow. My laptop here. And this chair, I noticed how low it is earlier. I'm like, I gotta fix it. And I was gonna say, I think, it was that? Yeah. I was gonna say, I do think this is an exciting place to be on a Wednesday night. Just kidding. I thank you for having me. And again, I echo what Councilmember Carey said. Thank you for your work. A couple of items that I wanted to report on. I believe it was last week. A few of us traveled to the National League of Cities conference, and it was a really great conference. A lot of questions always from, about Alaska when we attend. You see our name badges and say Alaska. And the surprise always is, when we say our size, there's, our small size cities up to millions, like LA is there, that type of thing. So, and in comparison, but we're always asked about our size, our square footage and our size. And they're always surprised when we say, yes, we're this size. However, we serve, regionally 30,000 plus, and always asked, how do you do that? So it's always a really good conversation. It's a great conference to have these conversations. And part of what we have, and I have in front of me, is our legislative priorities that will come to the council on December 17th for final approval. But it goes along with that regional aspect. When we look at our legislative priorities, we always focus regionally because we do serve regionally, and we want to continue because we believe in that. So our legislative priorities this year have changed a little bit, and it's really changed on capacity. We've had some other priorities that we've taken a look at. How do they fit in with the next few years and even within funding? Some of them were studies, and if we receive the design studies, and if we receive the funding, could we actually complete the project? So a couple of them moved back because we can't complete the project right now, and it goes to this funding as well. Some of it would not have been prudent at this time to spend the funding on those projects. So we've changed it a little bit. There are a few projects that year after year, but one being Memorial Park improvements, and that is the cemetery. And we've had that project for a number of years. I'm gonna try to flip through, there we go. And a project that we've had a couple of years is reconstruction of Marydale Avenue. Currently, there is funding through the congressionally designated spending bill, I guess I would call it that, for the project to reconstruct. It's both in the House and the Senate, $2.3 million in the Senate side and $1 million in the House side. And we are hoping it's in what's called, oh man, THUD's bill. And so that through the bill, the continuing resolution that reopened federal government, that THUD's bill is still pending. There were some other bills that came through. City of Kenai, you may have read, received funding through agricultural bill. That agricultural bill passed when the continuing resolution passed. THUD's is still pending. So we're waiting to hear and watching the bill for that funding for Marydale Avenue. So we continue to keep that as a priority because we may not receive the funding this year. But that is a priority because, as you know, that is a highly used street and we want to keep it in good repair. Along with that is also updating of the utilities in the street. pH control at the wastewater treatment plant is an ongoing need for us. So it's part of, this is a new project, it's a utility project for us. We haven't previously had a lot of utility projects on our priorities, but we have this one. And also wastewater treatment plant headwork screw pump. And it's been interesting learning about a screw pump. I didn't know very much about that. A big project for us is replacing the ice arena refrigeration system. As you know, it's a 40-year-old system. And, you know, I have to say kudos to the staff all throughout the years. The system requires, I would say, refurbishment and maintenance every 3 to 5 years. It's been a tradition of doing it every single year. And I do believe that is why we've been able to get 40 years out of it. However, we're starting to have some issues. And a report says that it needs to be replaced in 3 to 5 years. That is a big project, almost $10 million. And we're working through processes and evaluating all avenues to bring this project forward and to make it happen. You'll definitely be hearing more about that in the future. Another project that we have and we continue to have, and we're passionate about this project, K-Beach and Arena Avenue signalization study. The Department of Transportation requires a study before they'll put in a street light, kind of frustrating, a signal light. And so we need to complete the study before we can make the case for a signal at that area there. And we continue these conversations with DOT. New this year for us is playground equipment at Soldotna Creek Park. It's a wonderful used park and we need to update our playground equipment, and it is our desire to make it ADA compliant as well. And so we're working on that project. And our last project, Homestead Lane construction and completing that Homestead Lane. I should add, we always include a long-term project, riverfront redevelopment project. We continue to move along in the project. I'm going to say slowly. It's a 20-year project, and it's, you know, we continue to seek all opportunities that we can, and we are working on it. We do have a working group that we meet with, but it's going to take time because it is a big project and we want to get it done right. So those are our legislative priorities that are coming forward to council. We'll see what they approve, but they're coming forward to council. I think that's really all I have, unless you have questions for me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or talk about anything else.
Just a quick question on your last item. What's the latest update on the riverfront redevelopment project? Any movement or what's next?
One of the items that we're talking about with the working group and internally is in the plan, it identifies a market hall, rather large, 30,000 square foot market hall. Our working group and even internally wonder if that's actually feasible, for one thing, and do we really need that? In the working group, we talked about that the end goal for that area, and as we all know, Soldotna Creek Park has become a gathering place, and we want to continue that idea into what we call the Davis Block property. How that will look, we have some challenges there. As we know, we use that for parking, so parking is a challenge. But how can we basically continue gathering and maybe even call it an extension of the park? Those are, we don't know yet, but thoughts that we have of continuing the gathering space. And perhaps could it be a year-round gathering space? We're looking at that as well. The market hall, we feel, doesn't really fit there. Could it fit somewhere else? Possibly. So we're really focusing on that property because, one, it's ours, it's the city's property. The other parts of it require, it's another ownership. And so partners and talking to developers on other properties. But right now our focus is on the Davis Bach property because it is something that we can do and focus on. Does that make sense, Caitlin?
Yeah, thanks. Any other questions or comments for City Manager Bauer?
We have a question on Zoom.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi there, this is Mary May, and I'm the Resilience Director of the Kenai Local Food Connection.
The
And
working
I
group
was-
open to the public. And that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. The Riverfront Redevelopment Working Group, are there meetings open to the public?
You know, we've never had public attend, and I don't know if that's because it's closed or we just haven't had public attend. I really don't know. I would have to get back to you on that.
Thank you. Yeah. I know that Jenny Smithwick Ailey, who served on the commission for a long time, and other commissioners put a lot of effort into the code update as a stopgap to hopefully help us have our riverfront redevelopment area and the downtown core. Those were overlapping ideas, and so both Commissioner Anderson, who just stepped off the commission, and Commissioner Smithwick Ailey, who also recently stepped off the commission, put in many years of brain power and hard work to try and make some headway on keeping those areas utilized in a way that contributed to that character of a downtown or a riverfront area. And so I'm really grateful for all of their work and many there's so much brain power and so much time has been and will be dedicated to continuing work on this. So thanks very much for the update and for your work to keep moving it forward, and for Director Mitchell's work to keep moving it forward.
Sure. And I do want to add that Commissioner Smithwick-Ailey continues to serve on the working group as well. So we really enjoy her contributions there as well.
Yep. Any other questions or comments for our city manager?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on to Director Mitchell. With any question? Sorry, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Chair Butler. Well, first I want to welcome our new commissioner. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, I do want to echo what Councilmember Carey said. I've been doing this for 10 years and working with the commissioners and having different perspective and input really opens it up to the public to really learn too, because you can be a real estate agent and you cue in different aspects of it. You can be an architect, you can be an educator, you ask different questions from different angles. And for me, as my role, it's always welcoming all the viewpoints to hopefully work together and come up with something great for the community. And so thank you for joining. And as it was mentioned, there's 2 vacancies. We did receive 1 application today. So hopefully that one will move forward and maybe we'll just have 1 more vacancy. So I am working part-time and remotely, and that's why I'm not joining you in person. So I apologize for any delay that I couldn't hear or trying to take a little bit of a second to push my mute and unmute button. What was a few things? I did want to talk about the plat that was reviewed today. The comment that I did receive was supportive of the plat itself and the right-of-way vacation. And in addition to that, it was also noted that the noticing could have been sent sooner. So I wanted to speak on the noticing requirement when it comes to preliminary plats, our code, and also our process. When it comes to preliminary plat, our city code says a minimum 7 days, which is typically the Tuesday or Wednesday before. Our common practice as staff is the Friday before that 7 days. So ultimately, it's about 12 days when we send it out. Why this one wasn't sent, what we typically aim for is usually staff's working on the back side and the back end of things with the applicant to really finalize the packet. With preliminary plats, there's only a 49-day to review and make a decision to move forward. And as your commission know that we only meet once a month, that really puts us a couple 5 weeks to work on these packets when it comes to these plats to bring forward to your commission for consideration to forward a recommendation to the borough. So I at least wanted to share that comment that was expressed about the process, that they would like to see notices be sent further in advance. And so please take it as I'm happy to talk more about it, our process itself and our code. If you see a need to change, I'm happy to discuss what that may look like. So I wanted to bring that forth to your commission to be aware of that. And then other than that, like I said, I'm working part-time remotely. So if you're in need of catching me, I'm working approximately 10 to 20 hours a week. I am in Mountain Standard Time right now, but I will be back in person in mid-January. I'm just enjoying my maternity leave, and I'm very grateful for council with their support of this. It's been such a blessing to be with my newborn. So other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions your commission may have, and great to see you after a long break.
Thank you, Director Mitchell. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Director Mitchell?
Commissioner Murray, are you sleeping through the night?
Absolutely not. That would be a miracle.
Will you bring your newborn to the next meeting when you will be here? No, just kidding. But we're very excited for you.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to Dennis, would you kick us off for commissioner comments and then just go on down the line?
Don't really have anything. Appreciate the updates from both the council member and manager. Yeah, I think we did spend a lot of time on the redevelopment, and understand something that big to chew on takes time, but sometimes, all the effort we put in, it seems like we're kind of not getting there in a hurry, and I guess that's reasonable. But welcome to Jesse, and look forward to additional planning and zoning members. And we've had a good vacation too, Linda, so we're back here, and thank you.
Thank you. I really am grateful to be here tonight, and just honored to be on this commission. And I appreciate it. My brain still says Mayor Carey too, but Councilman Carey in your comments, and that's where my heart is. My family and I are just super grateful for our city. I love our city, and I have to say, truth be told, when I saw the list of commissioners that I would get to work with, that was a big push for me to be here, because I really respect you and appreciate just learning more of the process and sitting with you and gleaning from. So thank you very, very much. Look forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time to be here, and your brain power is appreciated. Moving on to Commissioner Strasbaugh.
Not much to say here except for congratulations on the new baby. And also, I really enjoyed the VRBO packet, I guess I should say. I think they did a great job with that today.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Council Member Chilson, for bringing forward an important topic so that we can at least have some data to assess, make sure that we're having adequate housing for the people who live here full time and adequate opportunity for people to come visit and have good places to stay. I think that I wanted to echo Commissioner Murray's comments. I know that we put forward the downtown core proposal, and as soon as there's time for a work session, I would really like for this body, especially given that there are new members, and hopefully even more new members by our February meeting or March, to have just a small update, or even a report from the Riverfront Redevelopment Work Group, or perhaps, if we are very interested and that body is open to it, we could sit and learn more about, for me, it's the boring stuff, actually the stuff that we get to be a part of, the devils in the details kind of stuff that the Planning and Zoning Commission really chews on and works through. That's the stuff I think that makes our city, creates our city, our 30-year planning documents and our code. That's what our city is built on, and those kind of code updates and zoning requirements for a riverfront redevelopment area in the downtown core were what I was really excited to move forward on first, and I think we have made some good progress there. But that sort of boring stuff and less of what big structure might we build on the Davis block. I think the devils in the details stuff is what I'd like us to have a quick review of and see if there's anything that this body can just make sure that we're still dotting our I's and crossing our T's when it comes to helping the city have the best chance possible to get what we want in that area. And it's late, and I don't think that was extremely clear, but I'm grateful to everybody, and also want to give a lot of grace for a new parent. So no pressure on the timing there, Linda, but I just, I did want to keep it on the burner and on everybody's mind. And thanks for the grace for letting me be on Zoom too. My 3-year-old was puking all last night. So I look forward to seeing you in person next meeting. And with that, on that note, our meeting is adjourned, and our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, January 7th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. here. So happy holidays, everyone. Our meeting is adjourned. Bonk.